that we are not going to put these children or put people, adults, aside. We're not going to push them aside, but we're going to give them the respect so that they will and can become a part of our society. Once we begin to do that and we begin to have education about how we work with children, sometimes you may see a child in a supermarket, you may see a child somewhere on the airport or somewhere, and you see a child really behaving bad. And coming from the type of culture we have, we'll quickly think, my God, this child really needs 2 good slaps and that sort of thing, without even stopping to realize maybe this child, you know, has some form of disability or something. And sometimes you see a parent really struggling, and sometimes just even to ask, they may have another child in their hand, just even to ask, can I help you, can I hold something for you, you know, that sort of thing. Just to even talk gently to that child. It's important that you don't just go up to a child with autism. You may not know that's what it is, because they can become startled very quickly. And if you try to, if you surprise them, you may get a different reaction. But even if it's to help the parent in the community, in the supermarket, wherever, and say, how can I help, what can I do? Those are some of the things that we can begin to do to help.
If I can also add, with us in particular at the school, I remember when we first started the early childhood program, it was an out-of-school program, and these are children who were not at school at all. There was one particular child who, part of his the autism and the parent not understanding how to work with him, he was just almost so uncontrollable. In order to contain him inside, he needed one-to-one. If he was going to go outside to play, you'd need 3 to 4 persons stationed at different places to supervise him and manage him, because he was very fast. He loves to climb and he loves to run, and he has no sense of danger. So you could imagine then, if that's the type of 4-year-old that I have, who runs very fast, have no sense of danger, loves to climb, and cannot be held by one person, it could be very challenging for the parent. And so we had to work with him. We did have those persons stationed. And over time, as you get to begin to teach him about what to do and what not to do, the boundaries, you know, show him where they were, you found that the child then stayed within those boundaries. You give him a routine. You teach him and you teach the parent that these are the routines that he needs in order to be able to function better. And slowly, but over time, he was able to function very well. Now, he can play in the playground. It's fenced in, but he can play in the playground. And you don't have to be, he's not 4-to-1. He's not even 1-to-1 now. But it took some time, but he had to be taught. And so that's why we say that there are some children with autism, they cannot start off in a regular classroom, but they can end up there. If we work with them and teach them, they can end up in the regular classroom with help.
Thanks again for all of the information that you've been giving us, but we have to take a break. Stay tuned, we will be right back.
Man, I'm supposed to take my girl out to dinner this weekend. I'm so broke, man.
Man, I used to have those same problems, you know, but since I got my whip Compaleon card, when I take my lady out, I even get something back, you know.
Get something back? But you're a lucky fella.
I take your mind out the gutter, man. What I mean is, with whip Compaleon, I get back 1% on every purchase I make. With this card, I can spend in guilders and use it throughout the Netherlands and TDs. Instead of paying 1% of the dollar credit card, now I get 1% back on every purchase I make at the end of the year.
What? I gotta get myself a company on card.
Man, but let's go.
Let me go. Man, now my lady's birthday gonna be a real celebration.
At least now with Whip Compaleon, I know you're gonna get something back.
The Whip Compaleon credit card, with limits as low as 500 guilders. You don't have to walk with cash, and it is accepted by practically all businesses. The Whip Compaleon is the first guilder credit card that can be afforded by anyone.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Welcome back to A Better Place. Miss Allen, earlier we were discussing one particular student at your school, and
That's
you
right.
talked about having to have at least 4 persons who would be watching this child while on a playground. Is that because the child would become very active, gain a particular strength? What was the reason for that?
This was that individual child, not because of having any extraordinary strength or anything like that, but because he was just very fast, and we do have those persons there. Because he has no sense of danger, he did not as yet have a routine, so he didn't understand the boundaries. So he was in the very early stages of needing to be taught how to work within his environment, how to manage his environment, because those things are necessary to be taught with persons with autism. There's social interactions that we have to teach them. So things that we would take for granted, that we would learn as we're growing, we'd copy and imitate, they don't do that. You have to teach them. So for him, he had to be taught those boundaries. But you have others in the classroom that, you know, some of them are very gifted, and they teach you a number of things, and there are things that you have to keep out of their way because they're very good with technology. They just look at it, and they can crack your passwords, they can get into. They are excellent. When we speak about gifted savants, that's what they are. We have a student who putting together a puzzle, a 1,000-piece puzzle. It might take us days, weeks even perhaps. We're speaking of maybe just a few hours to put together a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Wow.
So, you know, they're looking at the detail. They're very sequential. They can just work out things so quickly, and that's because of the functioning of their brain. At our school, we go, as we said earlier on, from very young to very old. We have some who came in, I think he came in when he was 17, coming out of an environment, a regular learning environment, but there were too many people. The environment, it was overstimulated for him. And when they are overstimulated, they can become very aggressive, either towards you or towards himself. We had one being in the wrong environment, used to bang his head, didn't know how to cope, didn't know how to manage his environment. And when he came to us, the smaller setting, the calmness of it, the structure and the order which he needed helped him then to function better. And the same with this other one that was very aggressive and did not, where he was, they didn't want to keep him. Change the environment, give him some structure, give him the routine, let him know what's coming next, how to work with him, and you have a totally different person. Work with him long enough, and then you know, you can work with the environment that he's going into, a regular ed classroom. You let the children know what to expect of him, and they can also help him. So he can then function in the regular classroom. But he has to be prepared.
I think it's important to really also mention that, especially for parents, that we cannot gear one child to another child. One child may take longer to do something, another child may not. So the importance of having each child set their routine and working at things. That's why we said what we do at school needs to be carried out at home, and they understand that. Overstimulation is something else for a child with autism. If you put a child in a room where there's too many pictures around the room, too many bright colors or whatever.
Sound even. Sound,
because they pick up the sound. The flickering of a fluorescent light, we don't take it for anything. They pick that up very easily. If sometimes you have a police siren passing, you know, way before that comes close, they have already picked it up, you know. Sometimes they cover their ears. Sometimes the dog barks and that bothers them. If there's somebody screaming, it bothers them. So different things. And so for parents, we generally say to our parents, listen, we work with the child. You work with the child also. But as I said before, it may take a little while longer, but we work with them. And if there is this thing that every child, and parents need to understand this, another child may be able to go into a school or into another classroom or into a school and become fully integrated into that. Some children with autism may be able to do that. We may be able to work with them to the point where they can be integrated into the should we call it the regular stream school. others may never be able to do that. And so while, yes, it is important to look at integration for inclusive, all-inclusive with children with autism or any other disabilities, we also have to recognize that some of them may not be able to. And you have to let parents know that too. You know, while you want them to have the faith and have the hope for things to come, we also need to work with them at their pace.
I can imagine that there are a number of students within the regular school system that might have autism and any other form of disability. And it's also probably very difficult for teachers having to deal with these students because they're not trained properly. How can we encourage, or how can we educate these teachers and the schools to have some kind of, well, should I say compassion for these children? Because obviously they don't know what they have, and therefore they're labeled as probably being problematic. How can we work with the schools, the regular schools then, and have them educated in this form?
What I would say, I think the first thing to recognize as educators, that for us learning has to be lifelong. We can never know everything, and as our society grows and develops, there's so much more that we have to learn in order to work with our children. And so developing myself professionally, going on courses, applying for training for myself, even if my school board won't pay for it, it's about how I as a practitioner will develop myself. So that's one thing. When we started with the school, we did not intend to go down the road of disability, but we found that that was what was being presented. And so what we did, some of us went on general training, and there's myself, pastor, and one of our teachers for the early childhood also went on special training. A few others, we went on special training strictly for autism because that's what was being presented. So we traveled almost every year to North Carolina. There's a special place there that works with children with autism and with educators. And so we regularly went for the training, and we stay abreast. We do other courses, we read a lot of books, we try out strategies, because we know that each individual child is exactly that, a unique individual. So as a professional, you have to improve yourself. However, what I would say to the listening audience is that the Head Center of Excellence is also a resource. So we are available if you have questions, if you need help on a particular, working with a particular child, we are happy to help you, to offer whatever consultation we can. If it is that we need to come in and, you know, if the school board allows, show you some strategies, we are happy to do that. Because not all children with autism or not all children with special needs have to come out of the regular classroom. But in order for their time in there to be effective and to be enjoyable, they would need some help. They would need some accommodations. You as a professional would also need some guidance and some help. And we are willing to share what we have learned in order to help.
Mr. and Mrs. Allen, unfortunately, we are out of time. You know, I want to thank you once again for bringing all of this information concerning autism, and of course, you know, making the public aware that your school is there for them, and they can come and get information at any time concerning any form of disability. And to you, the viewing audience, I want to thank you once again for having been a part of A Better Place. Stay tuned as we continue to bring you informative programs. I am your host, Angelique Rameau.